In the quiet suburban town of Maplewood, where people rarely locked their doors and neighbors greeted each other by name, Emma Clark was everyone's favorite babysitter. At just 22, she had built a reputation for being responsible, patient, and endlessly cheerful. Parents trusted her completely and children adored her. She always arrived on time, brought homemade snacks, and had a bag full of storybooks and little toys. To everyone, she seemed like the kind of young woman any parent would be lucky to have watching over their kids. When Mark and Sarah Miller first met Emma, they were immediately impressed. Their usual babysitter had moved away, and with two energetic kids, 6-year-old Noah and 3-year-old Lily, they needed someone dependable. Emma came highly recommended by a friend, so they hired her without hesitation. From the first evening, things went perfectly. The kids laughed more than usual, the house stayed spotless, and when the Millers returned, both children were asleep peacefully in their beds. Sarah even told her husband that she wished Emma could live with them. For several weeks, everything went smoothly. Emma seemed to fit into their routine like she had always been part of it. She never complained, even when the kids threw tantrums or made a mess. She always smiled, calm and reassuring. But then, small things started to feel different. One night, Sarah noticed that Noah had started drawing strange pictures, dark figures standing in their living room, a lady, watching him sleep. When asked, Noah said, "That's Emma's friend. She comes when you're not home." Sarah laughed it off, thinking it was just a child's imagination. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. The Millers decided to return home earlier than usual, expecting to find Emma reading or tidying up. Instead, the house was eerily quiet. The TV flickered on a static-filled channel, casting a pale glow across the room. Emma sat on the couch, motionless, staring blankly at the screen. When Sarah called her name, Emma jumped like she'd been shocked. Her face turned pale, her hands trembled slightly. "Is everything all right?" Mark asked. Emma hesitated for a moment, then forced a soft smile. "Yes, I'm just tired," she murmured. The Millers exchanged a puzzled glance. Something about her tone didn't feel right. But they didn't press her, not yet. The following week, the Millers tried to reach Emma to confirm her usual Friday babysitting shift. But for the first time, she didn't respond. Sarah called several times. No answer. Texts remained unread. At first, they assumed she might have caught a cold or gone home to visit family. But as the days passed, unease began to grow. Then, on Wednesday morning, the town of Maplewood woke to chilling news. 4-year-old Ella Parker, a little girl from the other side of town, had gone missing. The most unsettling part, Emma Clark had been her babysitter too. Detectives quickly learned that Emma was the last person seen with Ella. Neighbors reported seeing the two walking near the park the evening before Ella vanished. Emma claimed she dropped Ella off at home around 7 p.m., but Ella's mother said she never arrived. When police tried to contact Emma for questioning, she was nowhere to be found. Officers visited her small apartment near campus. The door was unlocked. Inside, the place looked hurriedly abandoned. Drawers half open, a half-packed suitcase on the bed, and dishes still soaking in the sink. It didn't look like she had planned a normal trip. It looked like she was running from something. Detectives found a few odd things. In one corner sat a small wooden box filled with children's trinkets, hair clips, toy cars, and small bracelets. Each item had a name taped underneath it in neat handwriting: Noah, Lily, Ella, and several others. What disturbed them most was that some of those names didn't match any local children the police knew of. Neighbors later reported seeing Emma leaving her apartment at strange hours. Sometimes she carried black trash bags filled with what they thought were toys or clothes. She always looked calm but tired, her eyes distant. No one questioned her. In Maplewood, people didn't think twice about trusting Emma Clark. That trust shattered when a fisherman found a child's pink backpack floating near Maplewood Lake, a few miles from Emma's apartment. Inside were crayons, a stuffed rabbit, and a small photo of Ella, smiling, her arm wrapped around Emma. Detectives now had two mysteries, one missing girl and one vanished babysitter, and an unsettling feeling that the two were connected in a way no one wanted to believe. A week after Emma's disappearance, police received a call from a local store owner who said someone had found a phone in a parking lot near Maplewood Lake. It was cracked but still functional, and inside the case was a tiny sticker that read, "Property of Emma Clark." Detectives rushed to collect it, hoping it might hold answers about where she had gone or what had happened to Ella. At first, the phone was locked with a 6-digit passcode. The tech team worked for hours but couldn't break through the encryption. The device had facial recognition too, but without Emma, they were stuck. Then one officer remembered a trick. The phone's front camera would sometimes capture the reflection of its owner when it was last used. They checked the system log and found something strange. The last image stored wasn't of Emma at all. It was a blurry, low-light photo of a child's face, looking terrified, eyes wide open in the dark. That changed everything. The police obtained a warrant to fully unlock the phone. When they finally gained access, what they found made even the most experienced officers go silent. The gallery was filled with dozens of hidden folders, each labeled with a different child's name. Inside were photos, voice notes, and short video clips. Many of the children were still missing from neighboring towns, cases that had gone cold years earlier. In one disturbing video, Emma could be heard whispering to a child, her tone gentle but unsettlingly calm. "Don't worry," she said softly. "You'll have lots of new friends soon." The recordings grew darker. In some, children cried while she sang lullabies to them. In others, she filmed empty rooms filled with small beds and toys, but no children. One file, however, was different. It was named The Garden. When officers opened it, they found GPS coordinates in a single image. A patch of dirt surrounded by trees scattered with tiny stone markers, each carved with initials. The air in the investigation room went cold. The coordinates pointed to an abandoned farmhouse deep in the woods just outside Maplewood, a place where years ago Emma's family once lived. Detectives knew what they had to do next. They packed their gear, called for backup, and drove toward the place the phone called the garden. The road leading to the farmhouse was barely visible, overgrown with weeds and framed by dead trees. As police cars crawled down the muddy path, the flashing red and blue lights cast eerie shadows across the woods. The farmhouse stood in silence, its roof sagging, windows shattered, and ivy crawling up the sides like nature itself wanted to bury the place. Detectives stepped out carefully, flashlights cutting through the darkness. The front door creaked open with a single push, revealing a stale, cold air that smelled of damp wood and decay. On the walls hung children's drawings, yellowed and torn, stick figures, rainbows, and hearts signed with names. But some of the names matched the ones found on Emma's phone. As they moved deeper inside, the team found small shoes lined neatly by a wall, tiny jackets hanging on rusted hooks, and several old toys scattered across the dusty floor. It looked like a daycare frozen in time. Except there were no children, no laughter, only the echo of every footstep. Then they saw a staircase leading down to the basement. A faint light flickered below. One officer whispered, "She's been here recently." The team descended slowly, weapons drawn. At the bottom they found a single room, clean and organized, with little beds made up with fresh sheets. On one wall, written in chalk, were the words, "My Garden of Angels." In the corner sat a small wooden box identical to the one found in Emma's apartment. Inside were locks of hair, small name tags, and photos of smiling children. On the table beside it, police found a journal, Emma's handwriting. The entries told a haunting story. Emma had been adopted as a child. Her biological mother had run an illegal home daycare that was shut down after several children disappeared. Emma had been taken away, but years later, she returned to Maplewood. Determined, in her own twisted way, to rebuild her mother's paradise. She believed she was saving children from bad homes, creating a place where they'd never feel pain again. But the entries ended abruptly. The last line simply read, "I had to take Ella there. She wouldn't stop crying." Outside, behind the farmhouse, police followed the coordinates from the phone. The ground was soft, recently disturbed. As they dug, they uncovered small bundles wrapped in fabric, each marked with a child's initials. It was the kind of scene no one in Maplewood would ever forget, and Emma Clark was still nowhere to be found. For days, Maplewood was consumed by fear. News crews filled the streets, families kept their children inside, and every conversation began with the same question: where is Emma Clark? Police expanded their search across the county, setting up roadblocks and alerting neighboring towns. But Emma had vanished completely, like a ghost who knew every step the police would take before they took it. Then, a week after the garden was discovered, a security camera from a gas station 20 miles away captured her. The footage showed Emma wearing a hooded sweatshirt, her hair cut short, and her car loaded with boxes. She bought water, canned food, and a burner phone. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. She looked directly into the camera once before walking out of view. Using that clue, police traced her path to an abandoned rest stop near the state border. There they found her car parked behind a row of trees. Inside were several empty juice boxes, a half-eaten sandwich, and a folded note taped to the dashboard. The note read, "They're safe now. I gave them peace. Don't try to find me." But what chilled investigators most wasn't the note. It was what they found in the car's trunk. Inside was a small, locked metal box. When they opened it, they discovered a tablet still powered on. It contained one final video. The video showed Emma sitting in the farmhouse basement, surrounded by the same small beds. Her expression was serene as she spoke directly to the camera. "I never hurt them," she said softly. "I saved them from the noise, the pain, the monsters their parents couldn't see. They're part of my garden now." She smiled faintly, then added, "And I'm gonna join them soon." The video ended with her walking toward the woods, camera shaking as she disappeared into darkness. A massive search of the surrounding forest began immediately. For 3 days nothing was found, until a hiker discovered a small clearing near a riverbank. There, beneath a tree marked with a child's drawing pinned to the bark, police found Emma's body. In her hand was a small silver locket containing photos of every child from her phone. Maplewood mourned for months. The farmhouse was torn down, the land sealed off, and every parent who'd ever hired Emma questioned what they'd missed. The truth was unbearable. The kind, gentle babysitter they had trusted most had hidden her darkness behind the sweetest smile. And the phone that started it all still sits locked away in police evidence. Screen cracked, battery dead, but holding secrets no one dares to open again.